Okay, kiddos, time to go to bed. We're discussing big boy stuff. Stuff for grown adult men that says words like antiquing. Yeah, we're hardcore here. Ever since I started making these yearly watch-throughs, I always get one request. When am I going to cover adult cartoons? And actually that was always never, dog. 3 shows of adult cartoons are longer than most of the other full watches I've done combined. But I've done the easy ones. It's finally time to knock out adult animation. Adult animation is simultaneously one of the most consistently popular cartoons out there, and the most consistently hated. While they have a larger reach than their average show, a lot of people view them as very samey, even more childish than the actual children's shows. But hey, I feel like a lot of adult animation is a major blind spot I have in my cartoon expertise, so let's finally knock it out. Now some rules: no web series, that's for a later video. I don't care what channel it's on, My Adventures Superman and Invincible Fight Girl are not adult cartoons. And I didn't watch every single adult cartoon out there because, guys, I'm just one potentially mortal man. I've seen over 100 though. Oh my god, I wasted my life. To put on our big boy pants, this is my most requested video of all time. Here's my top 50 adult cartoons. Hazbin Hotel. Okay, immediately out of the gate, this show is ridiculously flawed. This might be the worst pacing I've ever seen in a cartoon. The whole premise of the show, running hotels to redeem sinners, yeah, basically immediately thrown out the window. We are immediately told that heaven is evil. They're going to kill everyone. Not because of overpopulation, like originally stated, but because Adam is kind of a dick, I guess. Apparently the show is going to have 4 seasons? How? It feels very clear that they made this expecting to get canceled 1 season in. And like, now what? I've seen leaks of season 2, and no spoilers, but not looking forward to it. Okay, why is this on the list then? Well, one, honestly, pity. I'm kind of sad how you literally can't say you like this show without people jumping you. It's the same annoying on-set cool to hateness felt Steven Universe, Fortnite, Minecraft, and FNAF beforehand. But those backlash came from overexposure. This came from, well, a lot of things. But it's really sad that you just can't simply say you like any part of the show without getting jumped. There is in fact stuff to like about the show. The songs, pretty consistently, are bangers. They're really catchy and everyone here is a really good singer. And speaking of everyone here, what really makes this show is the cast. Everyone here is really fun and honestly, I wish it was less story-based and more episodic. Everyone needing to come together to stop heaven just kind of stops everything. Well, it would have been much more fun to just have everyone goobering around. Alistair's my favorite. I'm cringe, but I'm free. And Husky is awesome because he's Keith David. Listen, it's definitely flawed. We just have to kind of let people like this without wanting them condemned. Pretty sure they'd like that anyways. Beavis and Butthead. Okay, let me be real here. This is more out of obligation rather than actual genuine love. Beavis and Butthead is one of the 3 cartoons I've seen pointed at as starting the big edgy phase of cartoons. The show really pushes the envelope on what can be shown. From 2 teens constantly talking about sex, to some really brutal and dark kills, for something rather rounded. And like, it's funny for the first few episodes. Every time I hear people talk about this show, it's reminiscent of watching it in the 90s. And that's fair. That's how it's meant to be watched. Watching the whole show for a month straight back to back. Guys, I can only take so many Beavis and Butthead noises at once. The music video stuff, in my opinion, is not very entertaining. It's the same gag of Beavis and Butthead watching 30 seconds of the video, making the same comments on a girl being hot or talking about their dicks, rinse and repeat. It got draining real quick. I think the school stuff is better since it interacts with a more diverse cast. Including like Glorious King Torch Buzzcut. But still, it always leads to the same deal of mathing at boners. After over 100 episodes, I respected it, but I had enough. I do like the reboot though, keeping the iconic aspects of the characters while upping the stakes. I even say I prefer it. Heck, I genuinely like the movie a lot. A month worth of Beavis and Butthead? That's too much. An hour and a half? Perfect Butthead ratio. I certainly respect what it's done. My bunghole does not need this much Cornholio. Archer and Frisky Dingo. Yeah, so today I have a lot of shows I want to discuss. If 2 shows are close enough in where I would rank them in tone, I'll just tie them. I know Archer is a decently popular show, or at least it was, but I have a lot of problems with it. The big one, the animation. The art style is supposed to be based off old pop art, but it just does not look good in motion. When people are just standing and talking, it's fine. When it tries to do action, it drops to 3 frames per second. Those rigs are way too stiff to do proper action. It looks awful. Maybe if you're more forgiving on media than me, it's not actually notorious for being really hard to please. But for me, art style is genuinely my least favorite art style of shows I otherwise like. But it also has a little samey at points, a lot of the same story points and the same locations and jokes. And this is a fairly long show. If you're someone who is easily bored with shows, I just can't see this being for you. Maybe for 1 watch, but not like 13 or anything. The thing is, I did stick with it. I think it does get better. They introduce more characters, they start having a bit of a story. Mostly with like Bill Barry, he's the best character. Heck, apparently hot take, I like the dream seasons. It's a nice switch up. It takes these fun characters and puts them in different scenarios. Actually, yeah, that's what really helps the show. I do quite like the characters. Main Gang is pretty fun, besides from Mallory. This now isn't the most interesting thing we'll see in this video. You don't know which is leading. But besides her, they're all fun. Heck, I also think the one-offs are fun too. With the one really talented assassin and the dad played by Keith David. It's not a fantastic show in my eyes. By the end, I really liked it. I think the message I learned from Archer is to always stick with a show. Even if you weren't into the first 3 episodes of, say, Adventure Time, Courage, Avatar, Spy, Family, Samurai Jack, or Fullmetal Alchemist, stick with them. You'll probably end up liking them if you really stick with it. The thing that really made Archer make this though, it's by the same team as Frisky Dingo, I like that more. But the idea of a wacky screw-up villain who's actually genuinely very deadly is fun. And the animation works better with a non-human character. Kinda sucks that it got cancelled right when it pivoted to having a story, but hey, I like it. Why does he look like Handsome Squidward? Tuki and Birdie. So obviously the show is made by the same team as the show I'll talk about later. It's a pretty fun show. I'm very much in the shadows of that. A much more wacky series focusing on problems that women go through. But unfortunately, I'm a guy, so I never face any problems. The main 2 are very fun characters that really help carry the show, even with concept animation. The wackier styling of it helps it be genuinely funny and levitate some of the darker plot points. Overall, Tuki and Birdie might not soar as high as some other shows, but I think it's the one that can hit the landing. The Undergrads. This is a good example of aesthetic and vibe carrying a very simple adult cartoon. The vibe of 4 losers in college isn't unheard of. The thing is, this is something magical. These set in 2000s. Is it dated? Oh yeah, definitely. But it made me really nostalgic. Music, the pop culture references, the general art style. I wasn't in college when this took place, but something very fondly remembers the 2000s. It was probably back to that time in a whole new light. Mainly for all fun takes on tropes we've seen before, I like the really big jock guy who's actually a massive loser who fails the ladies, and the one guy who is just really gay. Oh, and there's a big nerd guy who's obsessed with nothing but Star Wars. Take a shot every time a late 90s, early 2000s cartoon has their big nerd character be nothing more than liking the most iconic franchise of all time. It's like in all of these coming up. But either way, this is one college I'd gladly apply to. Black Dynamite. Based on a movie I admittedly never saw. Heck, I didn't even know the movie existed when I first watched this. Black Dynamite is about the title character, the actual coolest character ever made, and you're ready with pop culture of the 70s. You're taking to very ridiculous degrees. Like what other show could you have Black Santa Claus saving the main character after he throws a rock from outer space to kill O.J. Simpson? Even though the human form I have now wasn't alive when this took place, it really stands out with super standout visuals, and how it can really go 1 to 100 with how they take these celebrities, which are all really funny. Besides the Mr. Rogers one, that felt kind of try-hard. They do an episode of Kermit the Frog's dick, and it's all forgiven. Definitely the second best show on this list to have the main villain be Richard Nixon. God, the Devil, and Bob. We're gonna do a lot of one-season wonders on this list. Everyone thinks they can make a cartoon. Making a successful one is hard. Of all the one-season shows I've seen, this is easily the least shocking one. Christians don't like it as all about a very flawed version of God, who is considering wiping out humanity, and a sympathetic devil. Non-Christians don't care, because it isn't as harsh as you would think. God's a pretty reasonably nice guy, just conflicted. There's not really a commentary on religion at all. With that said, this is a pretty fun show. God realizes that humanity is full of evil people, and the devil wants them to take humanity out. God wants to give them one last chance, choosing one human, Bob, to prove humanity worth saving. The main 3 are really fun characters. These are all honestly among my favorite takes on God and Satan. God being genuinely good, just also human mentally, and the devil being his evil self, who's still pretty goofy and reasonable, is a fun take. Bob is also pretty fun, as he's super intentionally flawed, but he's also pretty funny. He's also a nice family man. Like when he takes his family to a Chuck E. Cheese parody named Fun Freddy's, where the mascot is a purple rabbit. Get on my head, get on my head, get on my head, get on my head! A pretty fun show, even if it's unholy. Not because of the devil, it's because of the super crusty image of Bob hitting the YouTuber pose. Axe Cop. Based on a webcomic that's based on some 90-year-old and you can hear rambling, not a joke with how the comic came to be, this is a pretty fun, short and sweet series. Despite being an adult show, it's pretty juvenile at points. In the general way Axe Cop speaks and acts, it's the only one who doesn't swear and tends to be very blunt. Different from so many adult cartoons, it's trying to be super edgy, and they actually makes up for it. And he's brought to life greatly by Nick Offerman. It's a very fair apology for being Ice Age 5. I ask you all to watch this, or I will cop out of thinking of a funny joke. Pipe bomb. Heads off! Mission Hill. A short-lived, very good series, focusing on a freaking nerd moving out to the city to live with his brother. From a really progressive gay couple, where one is voiced by Tom Kenny, he voices a few other characters in this. One of them is just a SpongeBob voice. Plus, it's a very striking art style. I really like the late 90s, early 2000s art style. Like, I can't put it into words, but it just has a very distinct feel. It just screams right when I spawn. This is a great series, held back by a short length. Adult cartoons have two modes, too long and too short. Downtown. If you throw a rock at a film, you'll probably be kicked out of the library. There's also a really good chance the film you hit probably takes place in New York. It's always the go-to place for film and TV to take place in. It always shows off how grand and magical the town is. Downtown decides to show off the dingy, grungy, or forgotten side of New York, focusing on a group of friends and their little misadventures. It's a very casual show that really just gets the friend and a group of randos very well. With all the cast being very fun. My favorite is the one that's implied to be asexual. Holy awesome! Also, she's just a really nice girl and really supportive, that's cool. The dialogue just feels so natural. Like they just recorded some friend interacting and animated it. It's just exactly how teens talk. The animation is also really smooth for the late 90s, while still keeping that grungy feel. I love that the show gets a second chance, but honestly, what we have is more than enough. There's also another show that can mark off the they think being a big nerd of liking Star Wars list. The Undertaker makes a cameo in one episode, and he's always with two women. How much do you think he paid them to make him look cool and not like an awful person? Daria. This has been a show I've been meaning to watch for a very long time. I kept hearing people talking about it as one of the greatest cartoons of all time. Now that I've seen it, I do like it. This isn't like the show it spun off from, Beavis and Butthead, where it's more so obligation than genuine love. This is a very good show. Daria is a fun character, but she was revolutionary back in the 90s. A deadpan, snarky girl who goes against all the gender norms of the female characters of the time was big back then. Watching this for the first time in 2025, it's not that special. There's billions of female characters like this now. And when the show's whole gimmick is Daria interacting with stereotypical, overly cheery, idiotic characters, as she responds in a way that breaks societal norms, it's fine, but a lot has changed back then. This is not a dig at the show. It's what it does greatly. It can be genuinely funny. Like, I like the cracker teacher with a bulging King K. Rool eye. I'd kiss him on the lips. This is another show I'd be curious on what they do with the remake. See how they evolve Daria in the cast. Just because I can't vibe with it as much as those who watched it when it came out, it doesn't mean I have any ill will towards it. It's a very well made and fun show. Don't let me stand on your neck. This might be your stop. Don't let me prevent you from getting off. The Critic. This is kind of similar to Daria, actually. Another show I've heard a lot of really good things about, and while I liked it, didn't fully hit me as much as it did others. The show's about a film critic who's struggling for views. Relatable. While also dealing with the struggles of being cursed with the worst fate for someone. Being fat and ugly. The parodies of films of the time was pretty fun, if dated. You never realize how much stuff has happened until you watch stuff commenting on the past. Like there's a joke about a musical of Hunchback of Notre Dame, but we now live in a world where the most iconic version of Hunchback is a musical, and it's older than me and most people watching this. The weird thing is though, Jay's job as a critic is almost exclusively in the intro. His job really ties to the main plot, which is weird when that's like the title. The thing is though, Jay's a fun enough character that his daily life is still really entertaining. This is getting rebooted. And honestly, I'm down. Film criticism and culture has changed a lot in 3 decades, so I'd be glad to check in again. The Critic. It doesn't stink. Hitmonkey. Of all the Marvel properties to get a show, this definitely feels like a weird pick, considering this is a fairly obscure character. With that said, it is kind of a banger. Done by the same team as Archer, but now they're actually able to properly animate action. The show revolves around a monkey assassin and his ghost friend solving mysteries, with the two having a pretty fun chemistry, even though Hitmonkey can't talk. Going back to the animation, it's very fluid actually. They really nail the feel of a monkey mauling guy to death. Season 1 I do slightly prefer since it's a lot more grounded and visceral, but Season 2 is pretty cool too, with him having to fight the devil, who's my glorious King Keith David. No clue why I don't call him Mephisto, like that's clearly who he is. Still, this is a pretty fun show. It hits all my points. Monkey. And Keith David. Sucks that there's only 2 good pieces of media ever. Mike Tyson Mysteries. Something you'll notice if you ever isn't seen as me to watch through all these shows. There's a lot of Scooby-Doo parodies. Not sure why, but of all of them, Mike Tyson Mysteries does it the best. Mike Tyson, voiced by the guy himself, really like the only example of a celebrity cartoon actually getting the celebrity to voice him. Going alongside his adoptive daughter, a ghost, and Norm Donald as a pigeon. He's actually a man who was cursed to be one. Spies in Disguise ripped us off. I like that while it could be easy to veer off into random nonsense, they do consistently keep the mystery angle. Every episode does have a new story from like the beginning to solve. And they always solve it. Really sticking with the premise is optional for most adult cartoons. Are there problems? I mean, yeah, but I won't say them because I'm worried if I say anything really bad about it, Mike Tyson will probably beat me up. My ears are the only thing that work properly for me. I am not losing them. Family Guy and American Dad. Alright, one of the big boys. Shockingly pretty low. This reminds me of the time I saw the chicken across the road. Oh, wow. You really did just do that. Wait, look out! So if you've been watching me for a while, you might remember me being really in on the whole Family Guy bad train. Mostly thanks to all the critics at the time saying it was the worst thing ever made. Then, one fateful day, I was dog sitting for someone, and I stayed over at their house for several nights. At their house, they had full set of the entirety of Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, and The Godfather, and the first 3 seasons of Family Guy. You'll never guess which one I picked. This reminds me of the time I had to pick between the 2 things I love the most. I picked this one. Holy frick, it's The Creature! The thing is, I was shocked when I watched it and realized something. It was actually funny. All the Family Guy hits different. We're riding in a car hitting people. While the more recent episodes are more focused on shock humor, but stops being shocking pretty quickly, this is like, actually kind of funny. Peter's an actual Family Guy. Joe's a full character who isn't mocked for being in a wheelchair. I don't want to bludgeon Brian to death. That reminds me of the time I bludgeoned my ex-girlfriend to death. Wait a minute, I didn't do that. I never had an ex-girlfriend. I never dated anyone. I'm lovable. I think that was a hobo. Yeah, early Family Guy actually kind of slaps, and it's sad to see its downfall. The show very quickly derails, becomes kind of insufferable, but still has its gems. The best way to watch Family Guy is definitely to watch all the random clips that you encounter on Twitter and YouTube. But as much as I can rag on it, there's definitely good here. I think of how badly my life would be without the show. So many of the greatest memes and scenes and cartoons came from this. So sometimes, we are lucky to have a Family Guy. American Dad is funnier. Yeah, not much to add. The Secret Service angle brings out a lot more unique jokes than Family Guy. A lot more consistently written. Roger. Klaus is a loser and I hate him. That reminds me of the time I had sushi. That's pretty good. Super Jail. This has got to be the most Adult Swim show to have ever Adult Swam. Every episode is just 11 minutes of pure, unadulterated violence and carnage. But such well thought out carnage. Basically, every episode starts off with a warden and his gang showing off a new location in the jail. Usually something goes wrong, and now, frick, oh no, there's corpses everywhere. It's not just murder. The main cast are all fun. Especially with warden is just pure weirdness. I'm pretty sure most people only know this show because he's a Atomic Sexy Man. You need to be in the right mindset for it. But if you are, it's a great time to be arrested. Close enough. Yeah, let's get the obvious thing out of the way now. This is done by J.G. Quintel of regular show fame, and it's nowhere near as good.
But have you seen this one?
It's kind of a similar problem to the Adult and Snippy show. Part of the fun of a regular show is that they keep slipping things past the censors. With this, there's no limits, so it's not as fun. It doesn't help that the art style is literally the exact same, just with more scant-looking humans instead of the mismatched creatures of a regular show. Still, the fun elements of the show carries on. It's got a similar pacing of starting normal but having a sudden twist, but it feels more grounded, I think. I mean, not really, because there's still like demons and time travel and aliens and Weird Al gets mauled by a bear, but it still feels a lot more normal and something like a regular show. There's also the elements of raising a kid, which like, aside of the kids I have watched in my basement in case I get hungry, I can't relate. But it's a fun thing to separate it from its predecessor. While it's hard to not compare it to what came before, close enough it's still a pretty fun time. Carol and the End of the Universe. Fire on Mars. On first glance, this seems like just a generic adult cartoon comedy. Men working on Mars are part of a large company. Hilarity ensues. Except it's not really that kind of show. The show is much more serious than you might expect. But not even really a comedy, showing how companies don't care about the little guy, the hardships of potentially colonizing Mars, and how one guy fumbling through a job, even with the best intentions, can go wrong. It's likely the status show here, but sometimes you need to punch reality. Because in every episode, it's clear it's the main character's fault, and he makes up his problem from the last episode, only to freak up again. No matter how sad it can get, there's always that little bit of optimism, and that's life. On Earth or Mars. Home movies. A pretty fun show about, well, making home movies, which gives it a fun vibe. It also has the vibe that it's mostly ad-libbed. Something more cartoons really should do. It's basically tame for adult cartoon. I'm not the only one who confused it with the next show, Hellswick, right? But it's still really fun. And like, Coach McGurk, he was my gym teacher. Well, it's still Phil Gym, but at least not feel bad about it, because he's funny. This is what I imagine Stan sounds like, by the way.
Me, whether you're being condescending to me whenever we speak. And if you say yes, I'm going to beat you up right here in the faculty lounge.
F is for family. Bob's Burgers. This is weird. Everyone I talk to loves this. Everyone described it in a way that makes it feel like something out of the door. And I mean, I do quite like it. But also I thought it was going to be one of my favorite shows and didn't even make the top half. But hey, I did it. I have watched Bob's Burgers. I bowed my burger. There's a few really big laughs, and they're pretty spread throughout the series. I heard that season 5 was the last truly good season, and there's 15, so I mean, I don't think the later seasons were like painful, but they weren't as good. The songs are great, and they're nearly every episode, but also, most are locked only to the credits, which is really lame. These notable musical cartoons are pretty rare. There's Phineas and Ferb, a few less talked about Disney shows, Donkey Kong. Just kind of wish they were more consistent. The family is really fun. There's a reason they're so iconic. Best character though, Mr. Fischoeder. Every time he's on screen, I lock in. Jamie Pesto is fun too. Too bad he was at January 6th. Yeah, I see why people like it so much, but I just wasn't as into it as others. Maybe it's because I watched it over a decade after it's popular. Maybe it's because this is one of the last shows I watched and I'm burnt out. Maybe it's because the movie, kind of stinky. But hey, I can at least lock down one thing. Bob Burger. Brak Show, Harvey Birdman, and Sealab 2021.
Are you here to destroy my lawn?
I beg your pardon? We would never do that! Would we, Zora? What's that?
All three of these are shows that are inspired pretty directly from old Hanna-Barbera shows. Just freaked up and edgy. Brak Show is a spin-off of Space Ghost Coast to Coast, which doesn't count for this video in my eyes, as it started as a CN show. Same reason Samurai Jack isn't here. So let's think of Brak and Zorak. They're gay, you can't convince me otherwise. It's not super complicated, but like, Zorak. Harvey Birdman is about a lawyer defending Hanna-Barbera characters in court. Coming up before most other notable lawyer media like Ace Attorney and Better Call Saul. He does have a bit of a problem of being outdated, but not in the "wow, how do you get away with this" way, but in the another joke about Shaggy liking weed and Top Cat being a gang leader. When it's creative, the natural classic Adult Swim charm of being laid back, but also bat freaking insane and creative shines through. Also a great voice cast and some clear actual respect for the classic shows. Then there's Sealab 2021, based on the basically forgotten show Sealab 2020. This is by the same crew as Archer. And honestly, I think it does the quirky workplace comedy with mild action in it way better. Helps that it's intentionally cheap, seeing it's made with $3 and a Chuck E. Cheese token. I mean, hey, if you're going to actually butcher a show, at least be funny about it. While I do wish we got some genuine takes on Hanna-Barbera shows, hey, at least they're funny. Clone High. Clone High is one of the absolute funniest shows I've ever seen. The idea of teen clones of historical figures going through school is such a fun idea. And I love the digs that they have and full parodies of teen dramas at the time. The cast is a group of really fun, wild characters who manage to pay tribute to their inspirations while almost always being the exact opposite of them. Like Abe Lincoln being a dishonest loser, Joan of Arc being goth, and Gandhi being a wild party animal. The show is hysterical and really smart, really thanks to the brutal parodying of teen dramas, being the exact opposite of everything those stand for. Season 2. Yeah, okay, so the reboot came out 2 decades after the original. It's not the worst thing ever. I like expanding on Joan, giving Cleo personality, giving the original art style, and Topher is a fun character. Everything else is just the exact opposite of what I loved about the original. So now it's treated as a more standard teen drama, hitting all the points the original lambasted, running a lot of what I thought was fun about it. Baldertron calling everyone Wesley was just kind of a cute running gag. Did it need a full episode explaining the tragic backstory behind it? Season 3 did improve a bit on it, but it's still very inferior to the original. Also, they killed Gandhi. The original is great and still a very funny show. The reboot is just a weaker, watered down clone. Hey, wait! Rick and Morty. This is just sad. I really love the first 2 seasons of Rick and Morty. The show started a lot of things. Lean on sci-fi a lot of adult cartoons had, this art style that became the go-to style, the extreme cynicalness of a lot of more modern shows, and of course, meta humor. Rick and Morty had the perfect dynamic. A cynic who's seen it all but can do anything, and Morty, a wide-eyed idealist who's always up for anything. until he thinks about it for 3 seconds, but in that time, Rick's already done something. And then the humor's a lot more subtle. They satirize stuff, but it's done briefly. The punchline is the trope, not the viewer. Honestly, I never found Rick and Morty all that funny. What kept me was the fun dynamic between the main cast, the extremely unique concepts, and Keith David. The problem is, they didn't stop at 2 seasons. And the following, oh god, 6 seasons. They still have their good episodes, great ones even. My favorite episode is Rick Atlantis Mix-Up of Season 3. That's episode with all the Mortys at the Citadel, with even Morty revealing he's running it. I really hate the names of the episodes of the show. It's literally just taking a phrase and shoving Rick and Morty in it. Very quickly, we start getting more bad episodes than good. Everyone knows where they were when Pickle Rick dropped. Season 3 started Morty's downfall of being much more cynical and hating on Rick. A version of the character we've had longer than the original, which just doesn't work as well. It started with Rick being officially stated as the smartest man in the universe. It makes his many mistakes shine brighter. And most plots are just, let's do a generic story or parody, acknowledge it's generic, then move on. The meta aspects suck now, I freaking hate it. It's the fastest I've seen a show completely forget anything that made it good. And it made me think, even with occasional good episodes, do I still even like this show anymore? Is there anything to really justify making it this high? At this point, the only way I could see making it on this list at all is if they give Keith David his own show. The Legend of Vox Machina. Okay, first of all, I have no D&D experience besides the movie, nor have I seen the podcast this is based on, so some stuff went right over my head. But I still really enjoyed it. Honestly, I'm just impressed with a small group of voice actors lifts off the ground, because the action scenes are phenomenal. The world is as big and diverse as you'd want, and all the cast have their own talent to make every fight great. And the voice actors really bring them to life in grand ways, make even the more episodic episodes fun. Humor isn't its strong suit, especially at the start. They really lean heavy into, we have to make sure people don't think this is for kids. Something stated by one of the show's creators directly. But it's not too bad overall. A pretty good show. Can't forgive D&D though. If you're into it, I'm shoving you into a locker. And I'm an animation YouTuber. You know how low on the totem pole you have to be? Metalocalypse. This is a show that starts super simple, but as the show goes on, you realize something. I should really try bath salts. Starting as a black comedy of a group of idiotic metal band members, slowly a cult of metal producers and the band needs to fight. The animation goes from pretty stiff to holy frick god! It also helps that the band is played by actual metal musicians. So the songs are actually kind of bangers. If only they had Batman. Metalocalypse. It's pretty metal. Castlevania. Inside Job. Final Space. My first exposure to this show was a Rebel Taxi video that tore it apart, so I never really felt the need to watch it. Heard through the years though, people praising it at times. I was curious about it at the end. Now that I've finally seen it, I definitely lean towards the positive. It's easy to write this off as a Rick and Morty knockoff, and admittedly yes, there also is just a direct rip off of that. But this is shockingly a really fresh show. The main cast is huge and great, and really much more dramatic than I thought, without working very well. It avoids a lot of the standard adult cartoon tropes, making something I would highly recommend. It's also both really dark and depressing, but also kind of close to a kid's show. They don't swear super often, super bubbly colors, the underlying theme of hope. Apparently this was pitched to CN for being turned down, and yeah, I can see it. Very occasionally I see this throwing discussions of a show killed way before it should have, and I gotta agree, I'd love to see more Final Space. The all-powerful god of this world is Keith David. How could they ever say no? Xavier Renegade Angel. There once was a man from Idaho. This man could build an entire house in 1 hour. However, he was ugly. So this man was cast out to the streets. Unfortunately, no one built the streets, so he plummeted off a cliff. Thankfully, this man can fly, as he ate 12 balloons for breakfast. It was the most important meal of the day. However, due not putting salt on them, he suffered from a heart attack. That's right, the heart could sense the balloons in his stomach hole. It hit him with a Boeing 737. There were no survivors. Unfortunately, he forgot to see his lovely girlfriend, President Andrew Garfield, again. He snossed, and he lost.
This is the Cleveland Show.
Aqua Teen Hunger Force. Christos is the god of Adult Swim. This is the Atom. As he gave birth to all the tropes that made the network, and almost every show made after has a little bit inside of it. I did watch a bit of this in the past, but never sat down and watched it all. And thankfully, this is still as funny as I remember. The very fat way everyone, minus Shake, speaks The cheap yet iconic visuals, the no limits or rules approach to humor, it's the most adult swim show ever. It's still among its best. Furlock is my favorite of the group. He always got a one-liner to shut down any stupid thing Shake says, as he's the sanest member of the group. But every few times, he'll do something even wackier. It's great. Yeah, definitely watch it. Or don't. It doesn't matter. None of this matters.
Number one in the hood, G.
Fiona and Cake. Yeah, I guess this does count, doesn't it? Still feels weird to have a blatantly adult version of a show like Adventure Time. But like most adult versions of kid media, this actually tries to evolve the franchise rather than just introducing blood and swearing into it. The original had the show go slightly darker and have Finn grow older as it went on, so it's a natural progression. Finally giving closure to the biggest loose end of Simon losing Betty, incorporating the fan favorite gender swap versions. I always loved Simon, but God, apparently Tom Kenny cried when he recorded the parts, and I believe it. The main duo is both really fun in how they have to accept they're made up, but still living their normal, boring lives, which slowly gets more interesting. And this is probably among the best uses of the multiverse. Every universe feels distinct and well set up instead of a gimmick. Also, Brian David Gilbert is there. Take a dive in the multiverse and get really, really depressed. And then Flapjack appeared and I clapped. Moral Oral, one of the most standout shows in all of adult animation. While Star Wars is fairly standard, minus the fantastic stop motion, Lorraine does hit a lot of the normal adult cartoon tropes and jokes, even with its focus on religion. Season 2 though, that's when the show gets significantly darker, more serious, really funnier too. Just overall, it really comes together here. They do not pull punches here. Deeper analysis on Oral's naivety and innocence being detriment, and Clay's awful parroting. I like to remember at times that they're voiced by Sandy and Bane respectively, sometimes that's fun. It's a really progressive take on the relationship between a priest and his lesbian daughter, who he's totally supportive of. Actually, as a Christian myself, I like this isn't a jab of religion itself, but more so religious not to practice what they preach. I very much cannot recommend this to most people. It gets insanely dark. Like having among the only times sexual assault isn't just a joke in adult animation. But overall, it's a very one-of-a-kind show that I definitely watched. I meant to say I definitely enjoyed watching. I'll give it in. That's funnier. That's funnier. I can't say I enjoyed it, because my God, did I feel miserable after I watched it. But like a good kind of miserable. Like eating a full pizza. The full pizza of animation. The Boondocks. Based on a comic with the same name, Boondocks creates an exaggerated look at modern culture, exaggerating it to a chaotic, nonsensical hellscape. Unfortunately, it's basically what we're living through now. Something I really like about the show is Uncle Ruckus. I can say that without being cancelled, right? Also, I like that our show is very clearly based on anime. This is a simple, more grounded show focused on comedy rather than an action series. That's pretty unique even nowadays. Despite all the crudeness of the show, sometimes I've read that it actually does have stuff to say about modern culture. And I definitely understood what it meant, because I'm an educated member of society. Wait a minute. I'm a cartoon YouTuber. I don't understand media. Midnight Gospel. The Venture Brothers. Another show that's been on my watch list for a while, so I'm glad to finally knock it off. While it's been a cult show, I remember hearing such great and fun things about it, and this time, it fully delivers. So is a parody of classic Hanna-Barbera action shows, and it's done very well. I argue this is a proto Rick and Morty, and honestly achieved what that is trying to do way better. It's funnier, it has better action, a more consistent world, and Patrick Warburton. I've never dived too much into anything though. It's remaining mostly a comedy with the occasional sprinkles of lore if you're interested, but it doesn't take away from the moments that are there for the story or character development. Take the venture, my brother. You will die. Wait, I want you to watch the show. Ignore me! Arcane. Scavenger's Reign. God, it's sad how shows will just completely be overlooked for so frequently. Scavenger's Reign just feels like a show that would be so well loved if it didn't come out on Max during when they were seeing the Boogeyman animation community. This is about a group of survivors who crash land into a futuristic spaceland, full of weird monsters and people. The most striking thing about this is of course the animation. The fluid, distinct look that feels so whimsical can easily turn into disturbing. Thanks to a really unique creature design. It's fantastic. The show dropped on Max in 2023, but was removed before being picked up by Netflix. Nope, not this time. Since season 2 is still up in the air. Please. Please guys, I'm just so tired. Please watch the show. South Park. Nothing I can say can sway any minds. At this point, You either love this show and think it's one of the funniest and most creative shows in animation that can still be poignant with one of the most original and standard art styles ever created, or an unfunny and self-centered show that's way too hateful and extremely lazily animated and ugly. I definitely lean towards the first thought, but the second isn't something I'll disagree with. Of the big 3 adult cartoons, this is easily the most consistent. Things change, like Cartman going from a simple brat to Adolf Hitler, but there's no characters that got majorly derailed. Besides Randy. This very well might be the most iconic art style in all of fiction. Everyone can recognize the simple paper cut style, round characters, and the way everyone bobbles around to move. Is it cheap? Objectively, yeah, since it takes like 3 minutes to animate a full episode. But it's kind of notable turn about it that I want nothing else. Unlike most other long-running cartoons that got stale really quick, it took like season 18 to start showing cracks. And all of that was down to them deciding to lean more into serialization, which like is the worst possible choice you could make for South Park. Its biggest, longest, and uncut upside was that it was made super quickly, so you could always comment on what's going on exactly as it happened. Having any connected story and a plot that you want to tell kind of ruins that. Life isn't set in stone, so you can't always expect it to go how you plan it to. The most obvious example being when they made a whole season expecting Trump would lose, and yeah. 2020 was such a weird year. How could you not capitalize on that? Honestly, a lot of the later season episodes tend to have some fun ideas, but they're fun as one-offs. PC Principal and the Member Berries could be fun as one-off things, but they get really tiring really quickly. Especially Member Berries. Like, what was the point of that? They were an unfunny gag for a full season with no payoff. Let me forget them! And yeah, the show can be overall really mean-spirited at times. I won't deny it. It has a few episodes I just can't go back to. But when it wants to be poignant, it can be. When it wants to be funny, it most certainly can be. With some of the funniest moments in Western animation. It also helps the recent specials and the newest season got better and do a lot more unique things. While I'm playing Randy, which is good. Overall, yeah, it deserves a run as long as it did.
Kill John Lennon!
Kill John Lennon! Kill John Lennon! Kill John... Duckman. A very, very good show. You can certainly see the origins of a lot of the other better adult cartoons of nowadays with this. It's funny yet thoughtful writing that never goes super dramatic and stays fun throughout despite its satire. Also, Cornfed is like the funniest character in fiction. The first 2 seasons are stronger than the latter 2 in my opinion, since the latter one just kind of fully dropped the detective aspect entirely, but I had a massive drop in quality. It's so perfect, how do you guys remember? Because I make jokes about how overlooked this show is, yeah, I got looked over compared to a few other shows of its generation, but like, remember when 4 seasons and 70 episodes was unperforming as an unrealistic goal? We need a detective to find out who killed Animation Dog. Tear along the dotted line. Invincible. I was kind of expecting the Thing. Am I gonna be the first one to not do the unfunny gag? Did we finally kill it? Did we finally admit this kind of overused joke? Invincible is arguably set up as the biggest cartoon of this decade, already greenlit for a 4th season, and likely more. Instantly throwing an absurd comic into the mainstream and making several characters household names. And honestly, all of it is deserved. Invincible is a superhero take that both scrutinizes the medium, also showed genuine love for it. Setting it rated off just because it's the most iconic character of the evil Superman, most of the show is a genuine, fun superhero show, just a bit bloodier. Okay, maybe not a bit. While obviously based on pre-existing source material, the show still tells its already great story greatly, with a few changes to keep it fresh for the comic fans. The characters are all great and brought to life greatly by a stellar cast. Even if I do wish they didn't spend $1 on celebrities and put a tiny bit into animation because, like, it can look good, don't get me wrong, but also can be immortal here. Why is Dinosaurus so smooth? Still, I'm pretty sure that I think this show has truly made its mark. It truly is invincible. The Simpsons. Yes. I did it. I watched all 800 episodes of The Simpsons just for this one video that I'll talk about for like 3 minutes in a video that will get watched by like at most 12 people. Being a small channel is worse than being in the military. So like, yeah, you know where this is going, right? Simpsons is easily the most iconic adult cartoon. Arguably the most iconic cartoon in the last 3 decades. and has the honor not just because it's the first notable adult cartoon on television, instantly controversial despite being universally seen as the tamest adult cartoon now, even one most are fun with kids watching, but also because just kind of a banger back to back. The original run of 9 or so seasons have constantly banger episodes. Marty vs. the Monorail, Who Shot Mr. Burns, 22 short films about Springfield, Homer's Enemy, Bargat's and F, Itchy and Scratchy and Marge, You Only Move Twice, Last Exit to Springfield, Flaming Moe's, Cape Fear, Homer the Bat, and Maggie Makes 3, the Treehouse of Horror episodes. Consistent banger after consistent banger. Despite the outrage of a cartoon daring to be edgy at the time, it never really leans into that. The appeal isn't cartoon swearing. I mean, obviously, never had the F word said. That's like mandatory for adult cartoons now. But the appeal is that these characters are both really well defined and very funny. There's a reason, if you think about character archetype, there's a recurring Simpsons character that fits it, and they're probably the funniest take on it. The family is, of course, the stars. But then you got characters who only appear in every few episodes, like Skinner, Flanders, Krusty, Willie, Moe, Burns, Smithers, Edna, Fat Tony, Quimbley. Honestly, I'm sad that the spinoff of looking at this cast outside the family never got picked up. Every character deserves to be as iconic as they are. Especially Moe, he's like legitimately the funniest character in fiction. Every line he says slays me. This is how I imagine Randall would look if he was a human, by the way. Yeah, the show loses its way around season 10 or so, and it gets extremely mediocre. But honestly, not fully bad. Just stings knowing what it used to be. Honestly, some characters improved as the show went on. Moe going from just a bartender to a really fun, sleazy guy. Burns just being a CEO to a full-blown villain. And then Carl actually having a purpose. But yeah, it sucks to see Homer getting dumber, Lisa getting more preachy, Krusty losing his genuine love for his role as entertainer to a generic "the kid's host is actually really bitter and loves drugs" joke. Flanders, yeah. And like, remember Barney was like Homer's best friend since childhood and one of the most important characters in the series? Bro has not done anything notable outside drinking in the last 25 seasons. It's easy to say just cancel it, but like, this is keeping Fox Animation afloat. If we get some mediocre episodes of a series that's past its prime, for long as most people watching this video has been alive, who cares? Especially since, genuinely, more recent seasons have actually gotten better. Not Golden Age standards, but some fun ideas, clever writing, turning to its roots. It definitely changed. But at the end of this gargantuan watch through, I wasn't tired. I was so happy. I love this jaundiced family. For this reason, the show has become part of my psyche more than any other show here. Take a seat on the couch, strangle a child, grab a duff, and head to Springfield today. King of the Hill. After being one of the longest running cartoons, really I don't see it talked about a lot. Yeah, everyone knows the catchphrases and a few characters, but its legacy is nowhere near as known as a lot of its ilk. To me, this is a really entertaining take on an animated sitcom. And while certainly for adults, it focuses solely on the more realistic side of things. Most shows that try to stay grounded flounder into the run, but not this. It's also refreshing that unlike most adult cartoons, it's not super raunchy or crude. Most adult cartoons pour that raunch dressing all over the place, but this tries to deal with the things more adults would understand, in a clear and fun way. With Arrival around the corner, I hope this show continues to be as great as it was, with being among the most consistent cartoons I've seen despite lasting 13 seasons. Great show, I tell you what. Futurama. Another show I've seen bits of, never the whole deal beginning to the end. And thank God I finally have. A very creative and funny show that fully deserved to break from the shadows of The Simpsons to become iconic in its own right. A lot of fun twists in sci-fi that never felt too smug with their twists. Rick. Every character is great in their own way, and there's a lot of shockingly good emotional moments sprinkled throughout. Pretty infamous for channel hopping and being revived and cancelled several times. And the Fox seasons are certainly the strongest. The Comedy Central run isn't bad either, but there's definitely a slight notable downgrade. The new Hulu seasons, well, not bad. They're having the show at its weakest, with most plots being tied to some current trending thing that isn't trending anymore. 2024 episode on NFTs, for instance. Yeah, those show trendy stuff too, but it was usually right as it's popular, not already long dead. Also, they're way too mean to Zoidberg in these seasons. Every single time he's on screen, I just keep expecting something bad to happen, and I was always right. Lay off my goat! But even with some stumbles, dog, it's Futurama, it's great. Oh yeah, frick, I forgot to mention today's sponsor. You can't make me watch 800 episodes of The Simpsons. Not even to get some bread, you know? So, today's sponsor, this video is gladly sponsored by The Hypnotoad. Glory be to the Hypnotoad! Primal. Done by Gene Tartakovsky at Dexter's Lab and Samurai Jack fame, Primal is very much a once-in-a-lifetime cartoon. There's a lot of things that are just not done in Western animation. Pure action show with intense, almost horror elements, with little to no dialogue or really any humor at all, that just doesn't happen. It's likely only got off the ground because of Jenny's track record. But like, thank God it did. This is a really interesting world. Mixing your typical old prehistoric world with fantasy, even some modern day stuff. It's close to a horror series at points. The bond between Spear and Fang is great despite them not talking. The action is extremely striking and absolutely visceral, with the sheer brutality of it all. This is an absolute must watch to all people with even a passionate interest in animation. So anyways, Ginny's next project is about dog balls. Smiling Friends. I've thrown out phrases like funniest show ever in the past, but this time, I mean it. Smiling Friends is consistently the funniest cartoon I've seen. The creatives came from the internet and understand modern day humor far better than anyone currently in the industry, making for a show with instantly iconic visuals. Animation can go anywhere from still to sporadic and instant, in a ridiculously fun way, with simple yet consistently fun character designs that constantly mix styles. Alan is the best character, his voice is just my stim now, and it's a really unique take on adult cartoons of being notably more cheery and upbeat instead of the cynicalness of a lot of them. Admittedly, I do think people tend to exaggerate that side of the show. Like, it's there, but still a pretty fricked up show when it wants to be. Oh, this show will never kill off a character for a cheap joke. Desmond the Princess would be killed off in any other adult cartoon, but this show would not do that. Alright man, okay, you want to say that to Snormoo and Bill Nye and that's Goblin and all the people the food mascots kill here, and Mr. Millipede and Pillowford, and this woman Mr. Frog kills, and animals Mr. Frog kills, and all the people in the political ad by Mr. Frog. This amphibian needs to be shot. Like, yeah, the show is still hilarious. I do appreciate the moments they do spread actual joy and whimsy, but it's still a comedy. It's just acceptable because the comedy almost always works. Like, the premise here is actually really fun, and I like that it's not locked to just interacting with clients. They do random one-offs, and it'll still be a legitimately fun episode. Besides not giving my boy Glep attention, I got nothing bad to say about the show. It's so funny, so creative, so Mr. Boss. America's got a fentanyl crisis, and the best way to overcome addiction is to smile. Spawn. Keith David. Okay, so out of the way. Oh my god! Listen, I've known about Spawn for a while. I saw the Karate movie. I know the comics were ridiculously hit and miss. I know he molded an entire combat. I know he saw Ghost Rider that one time. And I also know people who like the HBO show. I just didn't know why. Now that I finally watched it, dude, this is easily already among the best shows I've seen. Nothing is held back, giving us some of the most beautiful and gothic individual frames ever seen that never pulls a punch. Al's backstory is dove into with just enough detail that you can really get to care about the guy, personally balancing his horror, his trauma, and his genuine coolness. The action is phenomenal. The villains are all extremely detestable in the most entertaining way. I don't care if you gotta make a deal with Satan to do it, or like I call it HBO Max. Please watch this show. An absolute must watch no matter what. These are honorable mentions. These are not on the list. This is numbers 51 through 65. These are not better than the shows I mentioned beforehand. This is being extremely clear. These are honorable mentions. They are not shows are on the list. These are not number one. This is not better than the shows I mentioned beforehand. I made the Netflix video, and when I made that, someone skipped to the honorable mention segment, and they saw that I taught a Big Mouth for a long time, even though it was very clear that I made it to bash Big Mouth, and for a solid 5 months they were mean to me and bullied me for saying I like Big Mouth, even though I clearly didn't. Watch the full freaking video, but make sure that never happens again. This is the honorable mention segment. These are not better than the ones before. Love, Death, and Robots. Some fantastic bits. Being an anthology kind of holds it back, since a lot of the sketches aren't as strong. Plus it was a Netflix video. Forget about it. Really like, actually pretty funny. Honestly being real, almost made it on the list. Aeon Flux. Starts as a theme comedy before becoming more serious. I still liked it. Just kind of threw me off at first. Major Lazer. Beloved Fortnite character, Major Lazer got a fun, albeit very short show. Balls Master 9009. Pretty fun send up to 90s anime. Even if I feel like I've seen these jokes before. Clerks. Would have been great if it was longer than 6 episodes. 12 Ounce Mouse. A few Adult Swim shows do this trick better, but I still liked it. Gary and His Demons. Well made and a fun premise, but I just never found it particularly funny. Bob Margaret. Fun grounded show, but not too special. Creature Commandos. Started great, then every backstory just kind of became the same. Central Park. Bob Burger's Shadow, but I liked it. YOLO Crystal Fantasy. Creative show, but I also refuse to include anything named YOLO in this video. Star Trek Lower Decks. I'd probably like it if I was a Trekkie. Harley Quinn. The first 2 seasons are decent, the rest freaking kill me. And finally, Father of the Pride. Great cast and Donkey Shark appears, but it's not too special. I watched over 100 adult cartoons for this video. If I did mention it, I probably have seen it. Ask me in the comments. But for now, let's discuss number 1. And finally, it all led up to this. The number 1 on my most requested video is BoJack Horseman. Oh, come on! Yeah, this might be the most underwhelming way I could possibly end this since I talked about this in the Netflix video. But BoJack is this kind of perfect series. If you get past the initially off-putting animation, why do they have hands? This is consistently one of the most dramatic cartoons in the world. Constantly diving deep into every single character that's constantly heartbreaking. Especially since most of the problems are all the characters' fault. Throw in the great destruction of Hollywood culture, and the fact that this is genuinely and consistently hilarious. People boil it down to just the sad horse show. But like, have you seen this show? It's always getting a great big laugh out of me. Todd's making me bawl my eyes out. And like, Todd, the one singular good HF rep in fiction, thank you for your services, is easily among my favorite shows. I really wish I could make a video on it. There's just nothing to add after Chef Loves made that like freaking 6-hour-long deep dive on it. But I'll make my claim here in my most requested video. BoJack Horseman is near flawless, and easily my favorite adult cartoon of all time. Adult animation is obviously the biggest net I've thrown out. They're pretty consistently the most popular cartoons out there, hitting heights most kids' shows can't. Their reputation though is pretty bad. Most people write off a lot of them as just Family Guy clones or shock value. Looking through all the shows I've had to watch for this, it's sadly not wrong. A lot of these shows are very samey, in terms of writing, humor, animation, everything. Like if I had you watch 100 R-rated movies, I'm sure almost all of them would be very distinct experiences. Watching these, a lot are pretty stale and repetitive. The thing is, I do feel like we're out of the area now. We're now getting shows that are actually genuinely funny, and genuinely creative, and genuinely emotional. Everything you want from a cartoon. Yeah, we always get our Paradise PDs, and Hoops, and Chicago Party Ants. But hey, they'll give them attention. That's how we got 8 seasons of Big Mouth. Give the love to the genuinely great shows we get, and that'll lead to more. I feel like people are slowly realizing that cartoons swearing is not in fact funny in and of itself. It only took them 3 decades. But I actually think, despite how awfully most animation is doing, adult animation still holds promise. Whether it's 1 season wonders or the 15 seasons of Behemoths, even with its many low points, adult cartoons are really something special. With a lack of rules most animation has, allowing them to really do and say whatever. It's been a common joke with my friends that I have seen every cartoon. Obviously, that's not true. I always deny it. No one can watch every cartoon. At this point, yeah. Okay, no one can watch every cartoon, but at this point, I'm probably pretty high up there on the list of people who have seen the most full cartoons. Still a few random handful of shows I couldn't fit into videos. Maybe I'll knock them out one random summer or something. But for now, I can rest easy knowing I am the fully grown adult man who's seen the most 2D images. I guess all that's left now is preschool cartoons. Shows that are made for literal toddlers. Shows that are genuinely even longer than a lot of adult cartoons. Shows that are very repetitive in what they say, since they're for literal, actual babies. I guess that's what I have to do next, right? Let me out! Let me out! Let me out!
You give me one good reason.
It's Saturday!
Oh, dokily do.